Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm gonna prepare to reinstall the rear tailgate. The brackets had those dampener, like looks like cork dampener. I think they were made handmade, and then I think it's a great idea to damper the vibration in the tailgate, regardless. So I don't have this material. I was lucky this one is didn't break when I pulled it out, but the other one is all like mangled. I have other pads on the other side as well. They're pretty old and worn down, so I'm gonna use different material, but same idea. I have like a little tin mat here. It's still a little thick for this application, but anyway, I'm gonna try it and see if that works. If that works, good. If not, then we'll change. Okay, so I did some testing on it, and then I'm obviously on limp mode. I have no power. So three things: I have power issue, I have brake issues, and I have overheating issues. So the power, I think, well, part of it I think was the fuel pressure sensor was not wired properly, but I figured that out yesterday. Before, the way I had it wired, I had like a start and a delay on the start, and then I'm not sure if that was working properly. But with the schematic that I found, I hooked up the wire as per the schematic, and then now it's plugged in and it works properly. It starts right away. I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna do some BCDS run today and see like what kind of reading I get. The power delivery I think has a lot to do with my map sensor, so I'm gonna order a new one. This one is a 4-bar. I think I should get like a 2.5, the stock one, and then run that, and then probably my ECU reading will be more in what the ECUs expect, and then that should give me boost. I might do some more testing on the N75 valve as well. Make sure that works properly. Last time I tested it, it worked. So I'm not sure in between if it stopped functioning properly, but I would just want to alleviate that factor. So I'm gonna test it anyway. For radiator, the fan does not start. It's hooked up to the ground trigger. I tested the ground trigger right on the frame and it starts the fan, so that's good. So that's not the issue. I think my Cante dash signal for the fan is off or not giving me an input. So I'm gonna bypass that. I'm gonna replumb the cooler. I have a plug in the bottom that I can remove and put a sensor. I had a sensor coming in with the fan kit, so I'm gonna put that in so I have a direct reading. And I get proper fan action when the actual water coolant in the cooler, not the intercooler, but in the radiator, reach the temperature, then the fan will start, and then I get cooling from there. I think most of my problem, I don't think it's plumbing. I think I'm plumbed the right way. I think it's just probably air. I have a bunch of air in it, and it doesn't it's hard to get all the air out of the system. It was like a full flush. I have this line coming from eye point on the radiator setup, so I'm gonna hook up a pump and I'm gonna pump all the air out of it until I don't see any more bubble, and start it with the radiator hooked up, radiator fan hooked up properly. See if I get proper temperature reading on BCDS and if I get some fan action. And then the other thing with my power issue is when the engine warms up, it kind of, when it runs idle, it kind of it runs on and off. It kind of the RPM just like dip ever so often, or like continuously dip. It's just like a rah 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 until I give some more gas, and when I give the gas, then it's okay. But yeah, so there's that. for the brake booster, I had it hooked up to the if you see like the blue tube that goes to the intake. I had vacuum from the intake, but I don't think the vacuum from the intake is good enough. On my line, I have provision to plug a vacuum pump or vacuum gauge to read the vacuum, so I'm going to do that and see what kind of vacuum I get out of the intake when it's running. But because I have absolutely no restriction because of the cones that I have on the intake, I think there's no vacuum building into that, or very little. So I think I'm just gonna hook up the vacuum line. I go to the brake booster to the vacuum pump, and then those are rated to work between to 15 psi. Yeah. So I think with this, that should give me like proper power brake action. I think I do have a vacuum reservoir tank somewhere that can probably plumb in there as well, so I might try that. So a little bit of work on the vacuum system to get the power brake to work with the N75 and the vacuum pump. I have my ground for the fan for the signal. It's right here. So, and it runs like on top there and goes in the cabin to the canter dash. I'm gonna cut it, put a bullet on it, so if I want to use it in the future, then I have the option of using it in the future. Probably gonna do it here where it's hidden, and I will have sufficient distance to go to the sensor. Sensor's right here. So before installing it, we're gonna test it, of course. So I'm just gonna, for now, I'm just gonna snip the ground, plug it on there, ground. I think I need to ground the housing for this, and then I'm gonna put a flame on it and see if I get some fan action. Okay, so accessories on, and I have the ground hooked up to the casing of the sensor. I have the trigger hooked up to the ground, and let's see if that works. Okay, with the heat gun, it takes no time at all. So I'm gonna demonstrate again. It just turned off, so it shouldn't take long. There you go. So I touched the port in the bottom there of the radiator, right there in that port. I thought it was like a straight outlet, this one on both sides, straight outlet to the radiator, but it doesn't communicate. I chopped the my old radiator to see what it looks like, and it's basically just a tube that would probably communicate the heat very well, and you can plug like a sensor on them, but my sensor doesn't fit. Where did I put it? Yeah, it's right there. But my sensor doesn't fit, it's too long, so I can't fit it in there, so we need to find another way to mount it. So that's what I figured that would do. I found that piece of pipe, so I'm gonna tap it, put the sensor in it, and found this rubber flange that fit right on top, and that would adapt well with it. So yeah, let's get to work. I'm gonna tap a hole in this, and then have the sensor set up. I think that's gonna work great. And being metal, I can ground it as well. I'm gonna spray it away from the lens, and Probably weld the little bolt on the side for ground. So I just found out that this outlet is the right there. That's the suction for the brake booster on the Volkswagen. So I'm just gonna hook up my brake booster to this. We'll see what happens. So I mounted the brake booster vacuum line to the brake booster. Well, it's just like roughly mounted or hooked up, so I can test it out and I'll raise it. I'm probably gonna cut it like even shorter to get rid of that double band. That tube is pretty stiff, so it would fit better and look cleaner. Anyway, when I'm done, I'm gonna need to do like a big cleanup of all the wires and vacuum lines under the hood. Okay, next I'm gonna fit that piece of tubing there. So that's what I got. The piece of tubing is installed inside. I hooked up a wire to ground the piece of metal that's gonna be isolated in the rubber, and the ground trigger will connect to that. So I still have an overheating issue, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put the plug in there. Because I think there's still air trapped in the system. And then yesterday I let it run, but I had the cap on it so the air couldn't escape. So I think I'm gonna use the factory cap that came with the radiator. I'm gonna poke a hole in it, put a funnel, and then let it run for a bit, so to try to get all the air out of the system. The fan wasn't working yesterday. I don't think I was able to get it to temperature because I don't think I had a good flow on the water coolant. So today I'm gonna use the heater gun and hit that section there. Make sure, try to get it up to 95 degrees C's to get the fan to kick in. So I did fix my overheating issue, and my fan is working as expected. It was just the piping wasn't bled properly, but got this all figured out now. So though the boost issue, I still have like the same kind of problem where I get full boost for 5 minutes and then after it goes into limp mode. So now I'm suspecting that I have all my components for the turbo are brand new, so I think I just need to calibrate the actuator for the turbo. I think I didn't get the calibration correctly, and I think it's over boosting. So I'm gonna run it and then get some data with VCDS and confirm that, and then after I'm gonna work into trying to adjust that without dismantling everything. So fun stuff. So I had problem with my Jeep going into limp mode after 5 minutes. It would run rough and then go to limp mode, and then I would have no boost. So I was suspecting maybe overboost. So I plugged my VCDS and then looked at the data, but I couldn't get the information that I was looking for with VCDS. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, or that's the software or my ECU, I don't know. So anyways, so it is very hard to adjust the actuator on the turbo. So what I did is I used this a 10 mil wrench, and I was able just to slide it on top of the actuator nut on the top there and loose it. And by connecting my vacuum pump on the actuator, then I was able to loosen that nut, bring it up, and by creating vacuum, the rod goes down and create a gap and remove the friction on the lower nut that locks on the turbo actuator. And then I was able to finger screw these nuts there on the screw there, and therefore be able to adjust the preload on the turbo actuator. So by lifting this up, I was able to limit the boost, and then once test driving, I would have less boost, and then it will delay the limp mode. So in my neighborhood, I did a little test drive, and I did not encounter limp mode, and it was about like 10-15 minutes test drive. So I might be onto something here. I just don't want to call it now, but today I'm gonna do like a real test drive, and then I'm gonna go get full gas at a gas station, see what kind of setting I have, if I do encounter limp mode, and then what kind of boost I'm getting. It was when I test drove it, first, second, and third gear, I was boosting 10 to 15 psi and 20 at the most, which was a little less than what it was before. So if my test run today is conclusive, I might lift it a little bit more just to have a little safety margin on the boost, and I'm gonna Loctite it blue so it stays in position. So yeah, so I have my phone. Hopefully I won't need to call the tow truck, but test drive to the gas station now. Okay, so I just came back from my test ride. I was able to get to the gas station and back. It did went into limp mode after 5 minutes, but I think it was under boost. It would give me like 8 psi of boost, and that's it. And I'm not sure if it's a limp mode or it's whatever the ECU choose to calibrate, because I did not have the same performance as before. I would get only like 2 psi of boost, and on this one I would get 8 psi of boost. So I think it's like the ECU self-calibrating and gives you whatever performance it figures you should get at that point. So yeah, right now I think I'm under boosting, so I'm gonna readjust. So I was gonna go and get the test ride done with the adjustment I did yesterday, but the nuts on the actuator are so loose that the undid themselves came loose, and it was totally out of adjustment. So I think I was able to tie them up a little bit better on this one, and they held position pretty good. So I just need to be careful how I'm tightening them up. Next time I'm gonna adjust them. Now I'm gonna adjust them for more boost a bit and see what I get. If after 5 minutes I guess the expected boost, then I'm gonna call it a day, and I'm gonna Loctite them so they don't back up ever again. I did find out right at the bat that when I fell up, I have trouble because the spigot for the gas, it's actually for petrol, not for diesel, and it's a little smaller, so it makes it painful to fill up with diesel because the diesel nozzle doesn't fit in there, so it takes like a long time to fill up. So I'm going to find a solution for that. The other thing is whenever I would go out for driving, I would idle and everything would be fine, But then when I would start driving, I would have a burn smell, and I was thinking maybe it's the exhaust. I repainted the exhaust, so after a while it's gonna burn out, and then it won't smell anymore. But turns out my axle in the back is way out of whack, and my shocks mount on the back are actually touching the tire right there, and it chewed up my tire. So I need to readjust the control arm in the back and to bring everything lined up. Good news is nothing is wrong with my transmission. I thought it was maybe my transmission will heat up and that smell will come from that, but no, it was the tire burning out. I have 5 set of tires for this gig, so I'm just going to replace that one with the on-scale one and call it a day. Anyway, I'm going to need new tires after this winter, so I'm going to just run 4 tires, no spare in the back, and should be fine. And yeah, other than that, it's good. I think if the control arm adjustment in the back doesn't solve my wobbling issue when I'm driving, I'm gonna need a lineman badly, because it's just all over the place when I drive with it. So back in the shop, and then try to line up the axle, and then readjust the actuator on the turbo, and maybe another little test drive to see if it works. And yeah, that's where I'm at. So I think I did a boo-boo on the Jeep. I'm not sure what happened, but all of a sudden it got very noisy. It still start and seemed to run on gas properly. It's just much louder than it used to be. So it happened when I was trying to install this catch can on the baffles for the I think it's the valve cover vent, and then I'm not sure if that was restricting the flow out of the cover vent, and it messed up something inside. I don't know, but it just got way louder. So I'm very unsure about the next course of action here. Also, I had a problem where my radiator cap was not sitting properly on top of the filler neck there, and then I lost a bunch of coolant fluid as well. So I'm gonna need more coolant fluid. Right now I'm thinking of just taking the engine out and then do a total inspection on the engine, and then try to see if there's anything wrong before I move further and then I destroy the engine. But now I think I'm just gonna try to restart it and get some codes out of the VCDS, see what comes up. It's gonna give me like a good indication of what's wrong with it, I think. I'm hoping, at least. I'll take it from there. So that is very noisy, and I get no fault found. Okay, so 2 days ago the engine grenade itself, it's just I didn't have it on video, but it just died out. I was trying to get all the air out of the water system, and then hopefully that would maybe get it to run a little smoother and keep it a little cooler. Didn't have any signs of overheating though, but anyway, it just like completely, I think inside it didn't sound good at all. But taking that engine out and taking it apart, it's gonna help me understanding how everything works and how everything is rigged, and be able to troubleshoot what went wrong. I think there was something wrong with that engine too. I don't think it was running properly to begin with. I didn't do any troubleshooting on the engine or double checking or maintenance on it initially. So yeah, right now I'm gonna drain and flush all the fluids. I'm gonna try to salvage as much as water coolant as I can, and then we'll see what's in the oil. I'm pretty sure we're gonna find a bunch of stuff in there, and then my goal is today be able to take the engine out. I have another engine lined up that I'm hoping to put in. It's a CBEA, which is pretty much same as a CJAA, and it will fit with my ECU as well because my ECU is CBEA. When I sent my CJAA ECU to Fast Forward, they swapped it for CBEA for me. I guess they have like ECUs ready to go there, so it saves times. But so at least that ECU will match my engine now. I don't think it matters very much, but anyways, that engine has a full harness, all sensors, and ECU as well. So, and has 75,000 kilometers on it. The guy's that's what he does. So I'm hoping that engine will be better than this one.
Not just static. And I need to space this bracket out a little bit.
Geo juice in it, and I will run the plug wire. That's basically just gonna work.
So all the bolt of the coupler sheared off. So not sure if that's when I pull the engine off or it's when the engine failed, but yeah. All the bolts that sheared are the one that we're holding the adapter to the engine coupler. The bolt section that's sheared off is in the coupler of the TDI, and therefore I wouldn't be able to couple anything to that engine unless I change the shaft on it. Here's the engine I picked up. The only thing I can see is that pipe is cracked, so I need to change it. I have a spare one anyway, so change that. The adapter that goes from the engine output to the transmission came with M10 bolts with extra fine threads, and I sheared all of them when I pulled the engine out, and I can't find them anymore. So I need M10 extra fine thread, 50 mil. And I'm trying to source them, but I can't find them anywhere. Has to be like socket head, so it sits in the inserts here. I was stalled on the swap because I was waiting for new bolts for my adapter. because I sourced locally those bolts, but because they have like the hex head on them, they wouldn't fit because the head would interfere with the socket section, the adapter. If you look on the other side, there's sockets. So when I reached out to Northwest Fab Work, they refer me to McMaster, and I order online those screws. If you want to order online, you're gonna need a company account. You can't order it for personal use, but if you have a company account, you can actually order them. So I was able to source them. I was pretty fast. Was supposed to arrive like the next day. Unfortunately, they shipped by Pro Later, and the delivery guy from Pro Later just didn't ring the bell. He just like left a slip, so I needed to pick it up, and it was last Friday, so I couldn't pick it up on that Friday, so I need to wait on Monday this week, and finally got them. So but if that wouldn't be from Pro Later, I would have had them like the next day. So it's very fast. A little more expensive. It was like $20. Like the bolts were I think $12 a pan, and shipping was $20. So overall it was like $35 just to get those bolts in. But I think it was worth it. Anyways, so I'm gonna get into it. So I took the harness out, and today I'm gonna mount the adapter and flywheel and the clutch plate, and then I'm gonna drop it in the Jeep, and hopefully next time the Jeep will be running. I also contacted Tunezilla, and I'm gonna try to go back and forth and get diagnosis for my tune and see if everything is fine with that.